and thanks for joining me, and welcome to another episode of Songs from the Saddle. As you can see, today I'm riding my Norton Commando. It's another beautiful day. I'm out in my native Northumbria, and the question I'm examining today is what kind of biker are you? If you are new to this channel and wondering what it's all about, then very simply I use my riding time to explore issues around motorcycling culture and biker lifestyle, and just generally have a bit of a philosophical muse. So if you're interested, tag along for the ride. So today's topic came up from a conversation that I had with a chap at a motorcycle rally a couple of weeks ago, I was there on my Triumph Bonneville, and he came over to have a look at it, and he was having a chat with me about it. He was a bit of an old timer. I think he was probably in his early 70s, and he was a military veteran, and he was obviously a very experienced rider. And he was asking me about how much maintenance work I had to do on the bike, and I pointed out that my Triumph Bonneville is 40 odd years old, and it requires quite a lot of tinkering and maintenance to upkeep it and keep it running properly. And he made a very interesting comment. He said that in his experience there are fundamentally two types of biker, two different types of biker, which he called, and this is his terminology, not mine, he called them tinkerers and credit card bikers. Now, when he said that, I immediately knew what he meant, and I rather liked that idea. So that's what I'm going to explore and play around with now. So I recognise from his description that I definitely fall into the category of a tinkerer. That's to say, I'm the kind of biker who enjoys mechanicking. I enjoy working on my bike, and I get as much pleasure from mechanicking on my bike as I do from riding it, probably. However, a lot of my friends are what this guy would call credit card bikers. That's to say, they are people who generally ride pretty new bikes. They change the bikes every 2 to 3 years, and importantly for them, they change the bike when the warranty runs out. So they always take out an extended warranty on the bike, and they're always then concerned to change the bike, get a new one once it's out of warranty. And so such riders rarely do any maintenance work on the bikes themselves. The bike always goes into a dealer for servicing or any other work that needs doing on it. So that's really the two classifications of bikers this guy was pointing out. The tinkerers, the people who work on their own bikes and enjoy working on their own bikes, and the credit card bikers, that's to say that they're the guys who, the only tool they carry is the credit card, and they always get somebody else to work on their bike for them. Now, before I go any further with this line of thought, I just want to point out that this is not intended to be any kind of value judgment or criticism of any particular type of bike. I'm not trying to imply that people who do their own maintenance are more authentic or more real bikers than people who don't do work on the bike. No, not at all. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that what I'm interested in doing is simply digging a little bit deeper and exploring some ideas and philosophies about motorcycling and motorcycle lifestyle. And so that's exactly what I want to do now over the next few minutes whilst I enjoy this ride. So if you identify as what I've just called a credit card biker, please don't take offence. And in fact, as I pays to point out, that's not my terminology. That was offered to me by somebody else. I'm not trying to criticise you if you think you're a credit card biker. Many of my friends fit into that category. And if you listen to what I have to say, I think it's a very valid and an important approach to motorcycling. Just negotiate this junction here, because this, you just excuse me, this next junction just can be a little bit tricky with cars coming around that corner quite fast. No, we're all clear today. So sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm trying to concentrate on my riding whilst talking at the same time. No kind of value judgment. Well, initially, no. I mean, I've got some things to say which you may or may not disagree with, but that's the whole point of these videos. So, you know, if everybody were like me, that's to say, if they were a tinkerer, you know, the motorcycling world would fall apart. That's to say, you know, somebody like me, I regard myself as somebody who generally doesn't buy new bikes, only buy second-hand bikes, keep them a long time, do all the maintenance and repair work on them myself. So if everybody was like that, then the motorcycle industry would collapse, and we'd all be worse off for that. We need people buying new bikes, you know, to keep all the businesses going and to keep the supply of second-hand bikes going as well. So we definitely need people who regularly buy new bikes and who always take their bikes to dealers or to other professional garages and workshops to have their work done. We need people like that to keep the economy going and to keep the motorcycle world going. So I'm no way criticising you if you fit in that bracket. You know, this, as I said a minute ago, this is a categorisation of bikers that was suggested to me by somebody else, but I quite like it. I quite like the idea for some of the things I'm going to go on and say in just a moment. Now, this next section of road, I really like. This just I like coming down here because there's a whole series of right-hand bends down here, but unfortunately because of these high hedges you've just got to take it steady because you can't see what's coming round the corner if you get a wide vehicle. Yeah, so we're clear. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. So yeah, not a criticism or a value judgment. I'm more interested in exploring the nature of the relationship that you have with your motorcycle as a result of these different approaches towards ownership. So as I've said, I'm definitely a tinkerer, and so I can only see things from that perspective. And what I feel as a tinkerer is that you do have a very different type of relationship with your motorcycle. I've often said how I enjoy working on my bikes, and it's a great part of the pleasure of owning a bike for me is doing the maintenance and mechanicking on them. And if you follow this channel, you'll probably see that I actually make quite a few videos in the workshop working on my various bikes. But I do accept that many people do not enjoy mechanicking. Many people do not want to lift a spanner to their bikes. They're just not interested in that. All they want to do is ride, and of course that's absolutely fine. But you know what's interesting is the reasons for this. There's a number of reasons why people are reluctant to do work on their own bikes. Some people don't have the confidence to work on their own bikes. Again, sorry, just excuse me. We're just pulling up to a main road here. All clear? Yeah, okay, and we're off. So where was I? Yeah. The reasons why people don't work on the bikes, you know, that's what interests me. So, let's say some people don't have the confidence, and I'll come back to that. Some people are just not interested. They're just not interested, and they're very happy to let other people do the work for them. And genuinely, I can relate to that. You know, I can relate to the attitude of people who are not interested, simply because I am not the slightest bit interested on working on four-wheel vehicles. I only work on motorcycles, so yeah, I can relate to that. Other people, though, they've maybe tried to work on the bike and they've somehow failed, which is not their confidence. They've broken something, or they've not been able to fix something or get it back together. You know, for example, trying to bleed their brakes and not being able to get all the air out or something like that. And so they've given up and they've handed it over to a professional mechanic. Interestingly, I've met quite a few riders who are afraid to work on their bikes, even for a pretty basic job. For example, I was recently discussing changing brake pads with a friend, and he was absolutely emphatic that it was dangerous to try and do work like that yourself. And he said to me something like, your brakes are essential safety equipment, you shouldn't be messing with them, you should ensure that that's professionally done, it's serviced by a professional mechanic. Of course, the problem with that attitude is, in my opinion, the rather naive belief that a job done at a motorcycle dealer will be done better than if you do it yourself. You just need to scan the posts on rider groups on Facebook for endless horror stories that people have had with dealer services. Of course, 99% of dealers will do an excellent job on your bike, and I'm not, trying to imply that they don't, but it's certainly not guaranteed. And for me, if I want peace of mind over whether something is done properly, for example my brakes, then I'll definitely do it myself. That way I know exactly what's been done to the bike. If you take it to a dealer, you don't know what has or hasn't been done. And in my mind there are two main problems with handing your bike over to a dealer. Firstly, in many cases you have no idea who is actually doing the work on your bike and what experience they have, particularly if you take it to a large mainstream dealer. Maybe if you take it to a small workshop where there's only one mechanic, you know that they're very well experienced, you know them personally, that's a different matter. But take the bike along to a big dealer where they've got a team of mechanics. You might take it in for your brake servicing, and that might be done by a new apprentice who only started yesterday. Now, that apprentice may or may not be competent, they may or may not be closely supervised in the work that they're doing, but you just don't know, and so you do not know what kind of quality job is going to be done there. And secondly, and this is the bigger point as far as I'm concerned, any technician that works on your bike in a dealer is on the clock. They have a time allocation for jobs, and they're on the clock, and that means it's just not cost effective for them to do all the little things that you might do at your own leisure if you're working on your own bike. So when I'm working on my bike, I tend to work quite slowly and methodically, and I'll take the time and effort to do all the little things which just probably wouldn't be done at a dealer, cleaning parts, getting corrosion off the, lubricating things, maybe touching up, repainting things, replacing bits, anything that's needed. And even if that means stopping the job that I'm doing and delaying it for a day or two whilst I order new parts or work on something else that came to light whilst I was doing the job at hand. And that in fact brings me to another major benefit of working on the bike yourself, and that is that you are looking over the bike in great detail, very closely, and checking things when you're working on your own bike. And that means that you're far more likely to spot any problems and issues than you otherwise would do. For me, another major benefit of doing your own mechanicking is that you really get to know your own bike well. And I always say that I don't really feel like a bike is mine unless I've had it in bits. And when you've owned a bike for many years and done all the work yourself, having pulled that bike apart many times, done lots of work on it, you really get to know that bike inside out, quite literally inside out. And not only is that very satisfying, but it could, and in my experience, on many occasions it has, got me out of a tight situation. Something's happened to the bike, and I've immediately, because I know the bike so well, I know what the issue is, and I know how to fix it. And by contrast, I've got several friends who have no idea even where the battery is on their bike or where the fuse box is on their bike. So if they're out on a ride and the bike breaks down, they've just absolutely no idea how to fix it. And I personally don't want to be in that kind of situation. In terms of the knowledge and experience, because some people argue, well, I just don't know what I'm doing, and therefore it's dangerous me working on my bike because I don't know what I'm doing. Well, yes, but everybody has to start somewhere, and my argument is that having no knowledge experience should not be a reason for never working on your own bike. If you never do any work on your own bike, then you're never going to learn anything about how it works and how to maintain and repair it. So if you don't know what you're doing, there are lots of ways you can learn. When I was young, I got some great books, and I might do a review of some of those sometime. I don't even know if any of them are in print anymore, but when I was in my teens, I think my father bought me one when I was just got my first bike when I was 16, and it's a very clear, simple, well laid out book with lots of great diagrams on how to service and maintain your motorcycle. Many things are not relevant to today's bikes. For instance, how to clean and set your points, and how to dismantle and clean carburetors and things. So if you've got a modern bike with electronic ignition and carburetors, things like that, actually much simpler. Modern bikes in some ways are simpler to maintain until they go wrong, of course. So yeah, I might do a review on some of those books sometime. I'd dig them out and do a review of them. That would be interesting. Also, I had some great mentors when I was young, and they were older bikers who knew what they were doing, and they showed me, and I learned a lot just by watching them work or getting them to help me with jobs. Also, if you wanted to learn, you may be able to go on a course at your local technical college or adult night classes. When I was younger, I did some great courses on welding, using different types of welding equipment, and tool making. So I learned how to use a lathe and a milling machine, things like that. And that put me in very good stead and gave me a lot of confidence. Of course, these days there are lots of great videos on YouTube that you can learn from, and I frequently refer to things on YouTube. And one of the reasons that I make YouTube videos about my work in the workshop is to try and help other people as well. And you can even sign up for online courses to study motorcycle mechanic these days. So I don't think there's an excuse saying that you don't know what to do. It is possible to learn. Yeah, but one last point, if you do want to work on your own bikes, then it is really important that you buy and use a good workshop manual that is specific to your bike. I have at least one workshop manual for every bike I own, and I refer to them for virtually every job I do, unless it's something very simple. It's important, even if it's just for things like torque settings, adjustments, things like that. But most good workshop manuals will explain step by step how to do jobs, and they'll indicate how difficult those jobs are as well, and what specialist tools you'll need. So definitely, if you want to work on your own bike, get a good workshop manual that is relevant, specific to your bike. Okay, so that's my thoughts for today. Thinking about, are you a tinkerer? Do you work on your own bike? Do you enjoy working on a bike? Or are you a credit card biker? Just some thoughts around that. So thanks a lot for riding along with me. Thanks for listening. I hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.